Welcome back to the Weird and Proud podcast. It's Sam and
Saucy.
Saucy
That
James.
was saucy.
Are you ever going to finish the song?
James.
I just want to keep it classic. I don't want to throw people off too much and
Do
be
you
like,
want
"Whoa,
to take
what kind
two? Do we need to do that again?
No, I felt good about it. Why? Do you think I need to redo it?
You forgot to say hello at the beginning. It's usually hello and welcome back to the Weird and Proud podcast.
Shit.
And
Hello and welcome back to the Weird and Proud podcast. It's Sam and
James.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you had a great week. We have quite an episode. We have so much to talk about, so much weird news going on.
Chock full of weirdness. And I don't even know what one of them is yet. She
I
keeps
know.
teasing me, and I'm trying to tease you, our beloved listeners. But I don't even know
Well,
what
I'm
this
trying
is.
to get better. I have been asking for feedback, which I love, and getting great feedback. And I think one of the things is when I am able to give you topics that we haven't talked about previously and to really get your genuine questions and genuine feedback, how
I
you
do
would
enjoy that, but I'm like anyone waiting to open a present.
Right.
You want to know what the present is.
Exactly, James.
Don't blame me for being a human.
Right. I would never. James, I would never. First of all, obviously we have a great episode. We've got some updates on the whole Kansas City weirdness. Did you hear about that yet?
No,
You haven't?
This
Okay.
is two things now.
I know. Now I'm glad that you also don't pay attention to anything in social media, because it gives me the opportunity to be able to tell you
I can
stuff.
tell you a lot about the Packers' new defensive coordinator.
Well,
literally, I can tell you a lot.
Well, I can tell you that I don't give a shit.
That's not news to me.
And that is not news. But we have an update on the Kansas City, a little bit of an update, a pretty good update.
They're in the Super Bowl. Everyone knows that.
Well, that doesn't have to do with football. We also
kind of does
have, for weird news, Amelia Earhart plane has been found. An update on Amelia Earhart. What happened to Amelia Earhart? We know.
What?
Yeah.
This
also took me hours to do all the research and try to understand, because the whole Amelia Earhart thing is one of the biggest unsolved mysteries, probably
absolutely
ever. There were always all these conspiracies of what happened to her. Was it a lot of people like the Bermuda Triangle, which she wasn't even close to the Bermuda Triangle. But also there are these rumors that she might still be alive. That's
one of those
craziness.
Back to the Occam's razor. The simplest answer
what's
is
funny?
the best.
Is the video that I was listening to?
Yeah.
She literally says this is very much an Occam's razor.
And I didn't even know that.
And I literally was like, "Oh, so you're James."
So James
might
know a tick or two about a thing or so.
But they're it's normally what, and it's just crazy. So we have an update on where Amelia.
Oh my God, I'm so. Are we getting into this now? Can we just finish this?
Well, I just gotta give a little teaser. Also, I just have to say, we have some amazing secrets this week. You guys put out I don't know if there was just I can't remember if we said something we really need a good influence.
Magic in the air
Everywhere I look around. Is that what you were trying to sing?
I don't know. It was making up a song.
Oh,
I just wanted to give it a little.
And everywhere I look around. Do you know the song?
Magic in the air. Is that what the line is?
Know.
That's what I was going for.
I don't know. But yeah, we got some great stuff. We got some great secrets. So you guys have really.
I'm really excited about this show. I didn't even
killing it with the secrets.
If there's any show I've walked into that we've done together that I knew less about than this one,
yeah, I'm trying to keep it a secret from you, because it is if we've already discussed stuff, it's hard to recreate that and really as if you're a listener and be like, okay, I'm hearing this for the first time. Here are the questions I have. You can kind of mirror that.
Ignorance is bliss sort of a situation.
Yeah, and it is nice because James really never goes on social media. Or at least the social media, your algorithm is football.
Yeah.
So it's you don't really see all the weird stuff that I get on my algorithm. So we have some amazing secrets too. And I have gotten some feedback that some people would like themed secrets. And here's the thing that I guess my thought is if I do, we've gotten influx of people who have done too many shrooms or took too many gummies.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, well, if we only have 3 secrets that are back to back of gummy secret, it's like, well, it might get a little boring. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of fun when they're kind of like, what are they gonna be? I don't know. Is it gonna be a
I
hookup
can
story or
I can easily see both sides of it.
yeah.
The listeners that would be like, and that's actually a great suggestion, like themed,
Yeah, like
but it
maybe
is
have a
kind of
theme.
fun to have it random.
Yeah. And like some of them are hard to put together because some of them are just like so random. So, anyways, and also, I don't know. I kind of like the randomness of it,
And when
but
you do a show and you do secrets live,
yeah,
right? It's way more fun.
yeah,
That's when I get to hide things from you and not you don't
yeah,
always know what's going to go on. I know the people better. I've talked to them. I've gotten their
yeah,
secrets. It is fun when it's really random.
yeah,
Well, a strong suggestion. I say for now we keep it the
yeah,
randomness.
yeah. But again,
Provos.
I love the feedback. I
Yeah.
love the suggestions. So keep it coming. Also, I've been trying to be really good about checking the DMs on the Weird and Proud Pod Instagram. So feel free if you have any, constructive criticism, feel free to send it over.
Even
And
if it's not constructive, we might just throw you under the bus and make fun of you.
no, never. But also we are trying to be better at the mics. Another thing too has just been making sure we're both speaking really well into the mics. But sometimes you get a little too excited
It's really loud.
and it's really loud.
I felt I did that last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just need to be, it's all learning. It's all learning. I'm trying to make this
I do love hearing stuff like that though. That's
yeah.
very helpful.
So, yeah, we're on today is episode 55, which is crazy that we have been doing now it's over a year
Wow.
that we've been doing it, which just seems crazy. But we still are learning, and obviously some of the stuff is, we're still trying to update equipment and all that. And I think the next would be I was trying to think like eventually, if there's anything else I needed to update at some point, but I don't know. What else? Is there anything else? Let us know. All right. With all that being said, transition. We are transitioning.
Oh, we had wrote down we're either going to do fake commercials or songs during a transition. Good one.
I was like,
I'll do the next transition
oh, so
song.
that was not. It was like making the transitions better. We're transitioning now to the news segment of. All right. So first, we need to talk about the follow up from the
Love
Kansas
the
City.
song, by the way.
It's like more of a rap.
Nope, need it. I got one for the next one.
Okay, you got one. Okay, you're on the next transition. But the follow up from last week, if you listened, if you've been following on social media, they keep calling it like the Chiefs fans, but it really had nothing to do with the Chiefs other than they just live in Kansas City. But it was this guy Jordan. He has his 3 friends over. They were found 2 days later outside his house, like in his backyard, frozen to death. Of course, one of the big things is waiting for the toxicology report to come back. And of course, then too, there were all these rumors spreading. And the weirdest part was, again, this guy, Jordan, who owns the house, of course, he's fine. And he was home for the 2 days that his friends were outside, frozen to death, and did nothing about it, wasn't answering phone calls, wasn't answering messages. And he was totally fine. And it's like, how did he not notice that his 3 quote unquote best friends were outside in his backyard frozen to death? So there are all these rumors he was a chemist. So there's all this stuff, of course, the crazier conspiracies. Maybe he was doing experiments on his friends. I know. James was rolling his eyes. And they're just also, of course, the biggest question was what the toxicology report was going to say. And it did come back. And I think right before it came back to like the day before, the guy Jordan, who owns the house, who was, of course, doing the chemist, they called him, he checked into rehab. So then it was more of like, okay, definitely, something's going on with drugs.
So wait, when did he check into rehab?
Like literally 2 days before this toxicology report came out, and the toxicology report came out like yesterday. So like a couple days ago.
Okay.
So he goes to rehab. He says this was a wake up call for him. And there are also all of these other like rumors too. Like I had heard that he was working from home the next 2 days. And it's like, okay, if he was working from home, obviously he was, awake enough to, be working. And like, how did he not look outside his windows or go outside in his backyard? And it was like all these kind of questions about like, it was like, how was he working? But apparently he wasn't working, and he was like, and these are all kind of rumors. These haven't really been confirmed, but he was like laying in bed for 2 days. Like, he says he was basically dead to the world, like passed out, worst hangovers of his life for 2 days. So he said he never left his bedroom, which is why when the cops showed up, he was, in a bathrobe with a glass of wine. I think he did have some problems from what we're hearing. So we're not really quite sure whether he was working or not. I mean, the fact that you were home, like, it's like, I can't imagine, even if you're really that hungover, like, you wouldn't just like look in the backyard. Like, it was showing to all of his windows that were facing the backyard. He also had a camera with lights, like one of those automatic camera lights that was in the backyard. It's just like, did he not look at it? Was he really that oblivious?
Did anything come back on the toxicology report?
So anyways.
Okay, yeah, I figured there's more. Sorry. I did want to hear about that too. I was like, I can't.
But that was kind of the lead up, and the toxicology report
Thank
came
you
out.
for that. I had the same thing in my head. Like, I can't picture the layout of this.
Yeah.
What's it like?
It just came out 2 days ago, and there were 4 drugs in the system, including cocaine, THC, and fentanyl.
Of course.
So, but it still is weird. It's like, does he just have like a really high tolerance? Like, if he had done fentanyl before, like, how did his 3 friends, how did it get his 3 friends and not him? So there are still a lot of questions, but that's now, of course.
Did maybe the friends took it and didn't know what was in it, which we'll never know the answer
Which we'll never know. And again, he's now in rehab. Now it really, and again, too, it's just like, I just can't imagine. For 2 days, it was a Sunday night, they had the get together, and it's now till Tuesday, and you're not, and I guess guys are different, but like, you're not following up with your friends, you're not looking in the backyard. Even like, if you really felt that hungover, like, if I'm ever like really hungover, like the next day, it's like, you text your friends, be like, are you guys all dying right now? Like,
it is different for guys. And every guy group of friends is different. So I can only speak to me.
Yeah.
I think I would have at least reached out to somebody within, maybe not the next day, but like the day after at least.
Right.
Like, at least that.
Yeah.
When you've gone and had like a guys' night together.
Yeah. Right. And especially if you're really getting rowdy, which, with that many
if there's
drugs.
Cocaine.
That's not just a normal night. Unless it was, unless he did have some problems.
That could be part of the problem. If that was a normal night.
Yeah.
Again, I could see it very much where he was more used tolerance-wise, right?
Right. Well,
But then again, did anyone even know if fentanyl was in there besides him? Maybe
or
he
if
knew
he
it.
Didn't even know,
He might have not known either. That's the thing.
Right.
Like, but now I wouldn't trust a word that this guy says.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course.
Somehow there was fentanyl involved, and he was able to get himself back inside, and the other guys weren't. And the question is how.
And like, how did they end up outside? Like, that was the other thing too, is it's like, apparently like only one of the guys smoked cigarettes. So they were like, okay, maybe one of them was outside, but also there was THC in their systems. Maybe they were smoking something else outside, but it's just weird that they all passed out outside and then just froze,
I don't know enough about how people take fentanyl. Does it have to be in like a cocaine snorting situation, or can it be smoked with weed?
Well, there was this whole thing too for a while where there was like some warnings that there might be fentanyl in some weed.
I don't know. I have no idea how do you need to administer.
But I'm assuming it's like it's almost like a powdered form. It gets on. One of the big ways is it's just cheaper than cocaine. So it's, they mix in some, they cut it to, reduce the price. And just scary stuff. Obviously so sad. And, we'll keep you posted. I'm curious to see, if he ever like comes out and is like, here's what really happened, and hear from him.
I don't know if you could believe it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very sad.
And then the one guy's fiance was the one who kind of led the charge of finding this
who
out.
like literally was banging down, went to the backyard.
This poor woman, I can't imagine what she's going through.
Yeah, so sad. Anyway, so that's the update. But prayers with the families, because That's rough. And that's just like a shitty way to get, like, that's just got to be,
freezing to death.
Freezing and a mix of, like you're going to your friend's house, just, have a little, a little fun. You have one little, hey, just have a line. Okay. And then, yeah, scary stuff. But for some even more weird news on the other side of things, this story blows my mind. Amelia Earhart's plane has been found.
As horrible as I feel for the people involved in that Kansas City thing, this is like a worldwide news situation with Amelia Earhart.
I can't believe it's not more worldwide. Like, I've only seen it on like some smaller sites. And
does the information you have seems valid enough though that it should be bigger?
Yes.
That's so strange.
Very strange. But it literally just happened. So for those, I would hope that many of you already know who Amelia Earhart is.
And when they listen to this, more of this news may have come out.
Yeah, maybe. I was trying, that's what the other thing I was trying to do today is like, has anything else come out on it? I want to make sure I got all my facts straight because there is a lot that goes into this. But so Amelia Earhart, this was 1937 that she tried to fly around the world. And what they have found, so there's been a group called the Internal Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery, who this has like been their main job, is like trying to track down what happened to Amelia Earhart. Okay. And basically for a long time, they've been trying to come up with a ton of like basically evidence to kind of prove of where they think she crashed and what happened to her. Okay. So some of the earlier evidence that had come out is the last the U.S. Navy had heard from Amelia Earhart was on July 2nd at 8:43 a.m. And it was basically her saying, I'm running low on fuel. I got to find this island. I'm trying to find this island. And if again, if you haven't heard much about this, they had an idea that it was somewhere in the Pacific Ocean that she must have crashed. And it's funny, it's kind of close to where Fiji is where
it's one of the most remote places of the Pacific Ocean.
So remote. And this was her last leg of the trip.
Yeah.
Like she had left the US and she had gone the other way, on the other towards Europe, gotten to Papua New Guinea, which is, I think, is close to like,
oh boy, now I have to think. Papua New Guinea's got to be like Africa side.
Yeah, but it's closer to like New Zealand, Australia side, I think.
Yeah. It would be on that.
Yeah, it's on that side.
Exactly where it is.
And her last leg was going from like Papua New Guinea to California. Like that was like her last was going over the Pacific Ocean, which was kind of the scariest part because it is so remote and it is a long leg. There's not a ton.
So much further than the Atlantic. Maps don't even do it justice.
Yes. So they basically created an island that it was called Gardner Island. And Gardner Island was this really small island. There's like hundreds of thousands of these little small islands in the Pacific Ocean. But they tried to make an island that they knew that she was going to need fuel at this one spot so that she could fuel up and then make the trip all the way back. So she really was going to have like one last fuel stop and then head back to the US. So they literally, these islands are so small, like they'd made a runway and made a space where the US Navy was going to meet her, fuel her up, and then she was going to head back to the US. So the last thing they heard was July 2nd, 8:43 a.m. She is, they think that she was somewhat like 200 miles away. And she was like, I can't find Gardner Island and I'm running really low on fuel. Then cut out. They don't hear anything left from her.
Wow. I didn't even know that was her last transmission.
Yeah. And what happened, so because, and again, I'm not like a radio frequency specialist, obviously, but back then, like there are all these different ways, the radio, like depending on like what frequency you put it on, like they found that she was sending out distress signals on all of these different radio frequencies in like Toronto, Florida, and they just didn't have the technology back then to like collect all this data, but they went through like 2,000 different of these like radio logs of like a 15-year-old girl who called in from St. Petersburg, Florida, who got a call on July 3rd or heard on the radio. She was just like listening to a radio show on July 3rd a distress call. She heard a woman saying, "The water is high. The water is knee deep. Help, quick, SOS." Another woman in Toronto later on July 3rd, later in the night, heard, "We've taken on water. We can't hold on much longer." And then a woman in Kentucky on July 3rd also heard KHAQQ calling, which was the name of the aircraft, KHAQQ. So, so they could kind of like pinpoint where these radio frequencies were calling to like kind of a general area. But again, the ocean's so
It's
huge,
so
like
big.
literally looking for a needle in a haystack, like literally. So that was like first some of the cues that they were like, okay, so she obviously didn't die on impact. Like she was alive for a couple days. Next, they kind of had a couple islands that they were curious about. So they then in 1940, obviously there were like the government had spent $4 million after she was missing to like search everywhere in the area, to as much as they could, because again, technology was not great at that time. So they were doing a bunch of search. They had searched like all of these other islands around where Gardner Island was, because we knew that she was headed there, but it was just so small. They were like, maybe she just lost her way getting there, ran out of fuel, which is pretty much what happened. So in 1940, they had discovered this island called Gardner Island, which was about like 100 miles away, or even less. I think it was like 75 miles away. It wasn't that far, but they had discovered bones on the island.
Oh, about 100 miles away from
about 100
Gardner
miles
Island.
from the place where she was supposed to fuel up.
Okay.
They found bones. But again, science technology was not great in 1940. The scientist who looked at it was like, these are males. This belongs to a male. This does not belong to a female. And they got discarded. They chucked them. They got thrown out. Yeah. They also apparently too had found a bottle of Benedictine, which they didn't really think much of, but now that they were doing research, like Benedictine was really only a liquor that was found in New York City, which is where Amelia Earhart lived.
Your dad and I have drank Benedictine together.
Yes. Yeah. So like that was kind of another clue. Now today, fast forward to today, they had, now that science and technology is so, improved since then, they actually are able to do what's called skeletal measurements. So they still have all of the notes from the bones that were found. So they basically did all of these skeletal measurements and were comparing them to Amelia's measurements using like her height, her body weight, like things you would find on like her driver's license and, her measurements at the time. And they're now more sure than ever that they're 99% sure those are Amelia's bones.
Oh my God.
Another thing that's really crazy too is with these radio signals that were going out. So what do they think happened was this island that was like, less than 100 miles away from where she was supposed to fuel up. They think that she was trying to do a safe crash landing onto this island and they got stuck in the reef. And I think like what happened, like what they had explained is like, she was basically crashed, but it was like enough that she obviously survived, of course. Yep. And they matched it up because she would send these signals, these radio signals, for like 2 hours in a row, like nonstop. And then it'd go dead silent for like 7 to 8 hours. And then she'd send out for like another 2 hours, signal, all these radio frequencies. And they're like, I wonder why. Turns out they looked at the tides.
The tides, that's the first thing I had.
And because in order to use the radio, the plane had to be on. And it couldn't be on when the tide was high because it would go underwater. So she had to wait for the tide to be out and then do the radio calls when she'd get the propeller working. And they matched up perfectly from the tides at that time to the radio. It was like matched up perfectly.
Makes sense.
Now, fast forward again. So they're building up all this evidence. And then now January 30th, 2024, they finally got the help of Deep Sea Vision, which is like a company that does like underwater radar. And they found radar of what they think is a plane right off the coast, what they're calling Howland Island, which is the small island that they think she crashed at.
What? So many things and the feelings going on because that story's been around since 1937.
Yeah.
So,
and it was always like these conspiracies. Maybe she like, people were like, she's alive and she's like were, part of a tribe now, or she's a spy for the government now, or, she got eaten alive by crabs. Where, I mean, she could have. I mean, we still don't know, obviously, what happened, like how she ended up perishing, but you can kind of guess that she was on an island. It's 1937.
When was
You're
the
in
last?
July.
When was did they say anything about when the last recorded radio transmission?
July 4th. Early
1938?
1937.
1937.
So we at least have like records of her 3 days after the crash.
She could have still even lived longer, but maybe the radio
propeller didn't work, right? The battery only lasts for so long. So she could have been there for a while, but then of course, they found the bones. So, and again, they're like 99% sure, of course, they're like, who the hell threw these out,
Yeah,
but,
exactly. Now,
based on science today,
they know where the island is. Have they gone back multiple times to explore this?
Yes, they haven't really found anything else, but it was so long ago, and because the tides are just so crazy, like this is, like these islands are not very well protected. They're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, so now they're like, maybe like, it's just so.
Well, if they dive and find the plane, that's like the final level of proof.
So that's kind of the next. That's kind of the next level, is seeing if they have the manpower to go down and get it. I think it's down like 13,000 or like I forget.
Well, they definitely have the technology. It's really, I think,
how much they want to pay.
The next step is just getting a visual, right?
Yeah. Well, they have like radar. Like I was seeing, there's like a picture, they took of the island itself, and then like, where like the shape of almost what looks like a plane, like.
But it's kind of like when they finally found the Titanic, they had a visual on it, right?
So that's what I was like. Why don't you just like send a submarine down and see if they can?
There's some billionaire Playboy playgirls out there.
Well, I was gonna say,
have the technology.
Yeah.
There's the one guy. He's multi-billionaire, and he's done a dive in the 5 deepest parts of the ocean and got to the bottom.
We had watched
We watched the documentary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember
call
him?
Up.
Yeah. He's the type of guy. We're in a good way. Everyone's different.
Bajillionaire.
He's a bajillionaire, but loves to explore the ocean.
Yeah.
He's got a
and
sub.
He's done a lot of like.
He's done way deeper than that.
And he like uses it for research to.
Yes.
Like make meaning. He's not just doing it for like shits and gigs.
They're trying to map the entire ocean.
Bottom of the ocean.
Just kind of like when they mapped the Genome Project, which was mapping the whole human genome. They want to map the whole bottom of the ocean, which would be interesting.
Yeah.
And understand how the currents work better. And then rescue missions to an island, say that somebody were to try this again and get stranded on an island. We would know more about how to get to that person safer and easier.
Yeah. Well, of course, now technology is way different, but it's
so much different.
But how crazy, like if they do go down and like get the plane to like the plane that Amelia Earhart.
I think the visual is the next thing I want, is to know with beyond a shadow of a doubt that was her.
Yeah.
Like that's the next step.
Yeah. It's just crazy. It's like, one of those literally greatest unsolved mysteries of all time.
Absolutely. That's why
now we just need to know what happened to John Benet Ramsey.
Darn near speechless about it. But
like there are like some things that you're like, what the hell happened? This has always been one of them, and now it's like, huh.
I'll give you the big example from my childhood, and we actually watched a documentary on this one.
What?
Of a missing person, and this was for much more horrible reasons than Amelia Earhart. But from my childhood, the thing that scared all parents was the Jacob Wetterling case.
What?
You remember Jacob Wetterling, the missing kid?
No.
We watched
was that like during Halloween or something? Or
I don't think it was during Halloween. He just was taken. We were watching on another missing child case, but this was a positive documentary because Jacob Wetterling's mom and another mom of a missing child were in there. And they were talking about what they went through and all the great things they've done to help moms.
Yeah.
And the Jacob Wetterling was a huge mystery forever, but it turns out he got captured by a guy, and the guy just ended up killing him and burying him in a field.
Yeah.
Horrible, horrible, horrible. But a lot of these greatest mysteries, it's just
what happened?
It's nice to get an answer, even if it's not the sexiest, like crazy, like Amelia Earhart's actually
she didn't
a spy.
join a tribe.
No,
and become
but
a spy
the fact
for the
that
government.
they found her, like, I hope that brings some peace to people around.
Yeah, I mean, if her family's,
story.
Her extended family that's still alive at this point. I mean, and yeah, it's just, she was like an icon, like she was just like a badass.
for women at that time.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like it's even like there's still a lot of things that are done horrible to women, but at that time it was way worse.
Yeah, like a woman doing this is was unheard of. So, sad to hear, that she did it was probably a scary way to pass, but it's just like, do you want to just die on impact or, to be around for a couple days and who knows?
And all the radio transmissions coming through, very interesting.
I know, right? Isn't that crazy? I was trying to think if there's anything else if I missed, but yeah, that's most of my research. I love doing little research projects. Hopefully you guys found that interesting.
I found that super interesting
because I haven't really seen much of it anywhere, and I was like, how is no one talking about this?
Yes, that's such a huge story.
Or I hadn't even heard of any of this stuff. A lot of this, the skeletal measurements, that was done in 2018, but they still didn't have it still wasn't 100%.
Yep.
And they still were like, well, where the hell's the plane? And
that's the next one. And not even pulling it out of the ocean, just the visual.
If they can get
if they have
submarine,
somebody down there that can take a photo and because they're all, a pilot would know more about where that is, but there's identification markers that could, beyond a shadow of a doubt,
of course. Well, yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, definitely. So this is an education podcast, of course, and
but that falls under weird for sure.
But isn't that I love, it's just some of these mysteries, unsolved mysteries that they're able with technology today to be able to.
It's almost 100 years old,
right? Craziness. So yeah, more to come. Hopefully, I'll hear some more now that it's on my algorithm. Hopefully I'm following the scientists that did research on this case.
That's awesome.
On social media. So I'm interested to see if they end up.
There's where to get some facts and not conspiracy theories.
Yes, you would like it. It actually is a doctor, James. So I'll keep you posted if I hear anything more, but that's what's going on. And something you could tell your friends, be like, hey, do you guys hear that Amelia Earhart has been found, basically?
Yeah, that's a good,
right?
It's a good conversation at the water bubbler.
Convo starter. Yeah, the water hole. What do they call it?
The water bubbler. No.
The water bubbler. Do people do that?
I actually don't say that, but I thought I'd throw
bubbler?
it in. Yeah.
Anyways, transition. We are transitioning to a new topic. Oh wait, you were gonna do the transition.
No, I can't follow that up now. Nope. I can't go after that show.
For weird watches of this week, we were just chatting. There's nothing really weird we've watched. I would say for recommendations, if you need something, and I've been talking about this on Instagram, but the new True Detective.
I think we made.
Did we talk about that last week?
We recommended it already.
I'm really
recommending it if you haven't seen it.
You can't tell I'm loving. There's something about when they take a true crime and paranormal and Alaska.
Kind of blend all the worlds together.
I want to go to Alaska so bad. I can't remember if I've said that too, but I really want to go to Alaska. And then we watched The Holdovers.
I loved it.
With Paul Giamatti, I can't remember. I think it's on Peacock is where we watched it.
I think it was Peacock.
Yeah. Very heartwarming. Not a weird movie, but just it won a bunch of.
It's got some
Oscars.
It can be perceived as a little strange, right?
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti's character is kind of
the weirdo,
a weird guy, and he
also you.
Very much me.
Yeah, just
Paul
James
Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti's so good. He's such
amazing.
A good actor.
But a great movie. Very, it's inspiring, cute, nice little story. Good watch. Good solid watch.
Yeah, it's a good.
Two
here's another weird part.
Friends.
Yes, it's a weird friendship dynamic.
Weird friendships.
But really, it was a beautiful movie.
It was
I liked it.
Yeah, it was good. Anything else? I was trying to. Is there anything else you want to?
If you want to turn that movie into a fun drinking game, I thought of the rule because they have a lot of drinks. Just drink when the characters are drinking in the game, in the movie.
Oh wow! Okay.
Because there was a lot of people drinking. They tend to have their
they
cocktails.
They were drinking a lot.
So if you did a shot every time the characters were drinking, that'd be
then you would be in a coma.
Be an interesting drinking game.
Then you would be in a coma.
Not like every drink they take, but when that
James just wants to turn everything into a drinking game. Just
sometimes, yeah.
Well, so those are your weird watch. I'll try and see if there's anything else. Nothing. I feel like TV has been lacking, and I feel like we really are feeling some of the wrath from the strike, you know?
I think that we're coming out on the other end of that though soon.
Yeah, I know, like
Because there's a
Yellowstone, like there's so many shows that like I need. Yellowstone, Severance.
As I said, I saw something about that is being filmed right now.
Yeah.
They are in pre-production or just started filming the final season 5 of Stranger Things.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Where they explore it's all about the upside down now, right?
Mhm.
And then what was the other show? There was another show that's out there that just got 1923 maybe
yes.
too.
Yeah,
But there was also
some of these were
Yellowstone
left
1923.
on such a cliffhanger, and I'm like, I'm gonna like we have to like rewatch some
Well, I
of
think
these
part
shows.
of it, Tyler Sheridan was doing so many different things.
Yeah,
Now he's kind of got to regroup and be like, what can I focus on?
Yeah, those
and
were
him and
so
Kevin
good.
Costner had that little falling out, so
Yeah.
that might affect some of it, right?
Right. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I swear there was another one that's left over from the strike that's back
It's
in
a big one
writing.
that we've been
I
obsessed
can't
with.
think of it.
That's right.
I'm excited for March 22nd, the Ghostbusters movie that comes out.
James loves Ghostbusters.
Very excited. Frozen Empire.
Oh my god. You're a dork, James.
Huge dork.
All right. It is this one I have a song for. It is time for secret. It is time to hear your weird secrets. And if you want to tell us a weird secret, you can call us in too.
SpeakPipe.
That's speakpipe.com/weird and proud pod. I'll put it in the description as well. Always anonymous, super easy to use. Literally pluck right on your phone, hit a button, record it up to 1 minute and 30 seconds. And we've got some great secrets. Normally, of course, we throw out some themes just to get you thinking. But again, you know, we've got we've got some good ones. We've got a nice little mix for you guys. So, James, are you ready for our first secret?
Prepared.
Okay, here we go.
Hi, Sam and James. I'm calling from Utah, and I have a funny story from a couple years ago. I was smoking some green grass, and I thought it'd be a good idea to just go and get my car washed. So as I'm pulling up, I'm just pretty blitzed and don't know where to look. I'm like, should I follow the sign while trying to line up my car with the tracks while looking at the employee trying to usher me in? The whole time this is happening in seconds, my car is coming closer and getting closer inside, and my tires don't line up on the track, and my car starts bouncing up and down. And I like push the brake, I like throw it in reverse, tried like reversing on like the track. The employee's screaming at me. I'm screaming. I'm like, what do I do? And yeah, I was embarrassed as hell. I don't know how, but I managed to straighten it up on the track and I made it all the way through. I was like, my ego was a little too high. I'm like, I can't just like immediately drive away. I'll look too ashamed. I have to commit to the bit. I have to go and vacuum it. I have to finish cleaning. I have to come finish what I started. And so I did. But since that day, it's been hard for me to go back to car washes.
This is my worst nightmare. Car washes are my worst nightmare. I feel like there's nothing scary. Like there must have been, wasn't there like a scene from Final Destination where they're in a car wash?
Oh, there had to have been. Final Destination is. I've only seen one or two
of like
them,
everything.
There's like 8 of them.
Oh my god,
right?
yeah. And car washes, I don't know what it is. It's pretty much like anything to do with when I need to like do something with my car. I have anxiety because I know nothing, and there's so much pressure like on us car drivers. Like even like when you go to get your oil changed.
I want to see where this is going.
And they're like, you know, come in. And you're like,
I'm going to let
am
this
I
play
going
out.
like what does that mean? And they're like to the left, and I'm like, wait, how far into the left? Like, am I gonna drive into this hole in the ground? And then they're like, what kind of oil do you want? I'm like, do I look like I know what kind of oil I want? And then when they're like, blinkers, but your blinkers, I like forget how I use my blinkers. And they're like high beams. I'm like,
what is a high beam? What is that?
What is a high beam? Project your brakes. I like hit the gas. They're like, have you ever driven before? I don't know what it is, but it like stresses me out.
That's okay. You're getting asked a lot of questions you don't know the answers to. Right. That would stress anybody out.
Exactly. And it's the same thing like with a car wash. It's like, I don't know, when everyone's like looking at you and you're like, you have to like do things with the car. I don't know why. It's scary. Do you feel that way, James? Are you scared of car washes and getting your oil changed?
No.
I even used to be scared of like filling up my gas. Now I've done it obviously so many times. Like when I first got my car, I always like would make someone go with me and like help me because I was so scared I was going to do it wrong.
I'm not saying it makes sense. Like you're so smart, but yes, you around cars. You around cars. I can see the stress.
So little about a car.
I can see the stress and unknowing nature of that causing you to do things that you might not normally do.
And even too, it's always so funny, like when they show you like the oil stick, like after they're like, look, I'm like,
you have no idea what that means.
I'm like, why do you show this to me? Like, I literally don't know what it means when you show this. That looks beautiful. Thank you so much. Like, do I lick it? Like, do I really like touch it? Like... But it's just stressful, and especially like I can imagine like if I was blitzed and like had to do a car wash. Oh my god, that sounds so scary. I would have a panic
attack. The first thing in my mind. I'm like, I've heard people that get stoned and like clean, right?
Yeah. I love to clean the house. Like that is one of my favorite things.
I had a friend in college that when he got super stoned, he always had to go take a shower. And he would take like a 10 or 15 minute like super hot shower.
Well, there's nothing, like a bath.
He just every time he smoked weed. But deciding to get into a car and go clean the car, that's hilarious.
That's so scary.
Yeah,
that's so brave of you. And like like going off, like oh my god, I would have been panicking.
I can imagine the little like spinners and all the soap going around. That could be interesting.
Yeah, it would have been like, if you were just like a passenger, it wasn't your car. But like when you're by yourself, you're going through this and the scary. Good for you. At least you got out. You're alive to tell the story. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing that. Especially like if you already are an anxious person and hate cars, which I just hate cars and they scare me. There's just it is like crazy when you think about that you're like driving like a big machine.
That's good. That's a really good observation.
Like sometimes when you're like driving, you're like, this is like I could kill someone.
Yes, very much so.
Like I could. What if I just drove off the road?
Surprised you haven't yet.
I have gotten a fair share of accidents. Luckily, oh my god, God bless. If I ever hurt someone, like I would actually pass away. I would never drive again. I would never drive again. But anyways, thank you so much for calling in. We love a Blitz story. We love, just girlies, just being girlies, All right, James, are you ready for our next secret?
Prepared.
Here we go.
Hey guys, I'm just going to get right into it because I'm afraid that I'm going to get cut off. But I just want to share something that I've never shared with anyone else, not even my husband. And I can't even believe I'm going to say it. But I used to masturbate with my conservative Christian neighbor to my dad's porn. So... backstory on that, one day we were at my house playing something on the computer, probably like Sims or whatever, and we somehow found this file with all of this porn in it, and I don't even know how it started, but we just started all the time. We would just, there was a couch in my dad's study, and we would just, go to town on ourselves with the porn right next to each other and didn't think anything of it until like years later. So yeah, and then we would be in school and she would just look at me and be like, do you want to go do the thing after school? And that meant literally going to my house and watching porn. So yeah, there's that. And, okay, I'll go die now. Bye.
So this is so funny because it is like, when you're that age, I mean, I can't remember how old you said you were, but like I can imagine like middle school age, hormones are flying. Like I remember I had one friend, actually it was a neighbor, my neighbor down the street and his parents were never home, and he would like always go through like I think it was either like his dad or it was his stepdad, I can't remember, but whatever. He had like all these DVDs.
Oh geez.
And but we wouldn't like, do really like, masturbate. Like we wouldn't like do that, but just to watch it, because you're so curious. And it is one of those things too, where especially like back then, it wasn't like as universally, like you couldn't just do it, wasn't as available as it is now, where it's like you can go to, there's a million sites for free where you can find. Whereas back then, it was still a lot on DVDs and magazines, like that was the other thing. You'd have magazines too. And it was like, oh my God, dirty magazines. It was more just because it was like, oh my God, I've never like seen this before,
I remember 7th grade actually was the first time where we were at like it was actually, I think it was one of my first like the boy girl parties.
Yeah.
Where it mattered at that time. When you're in 4th grade, a boy girl party doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah.
But the boy girl party in 7th grade meant something, right?
Yep.
And one of the guys who was always a dear friend, but he was always kind of a troublemaker guy, but I adored him, still do to this day. They brought, no, I'm even old, like being older, like there were no DVDs. No, it was a videotape. So it was like VHS.
Yep. Wow.
Yep. He brought that over. And then there's a funny ending to this story. The same guys had brought some vodka in a mustard bottle. They cleaned out a mustard bottle.
Oh my God.
Because they stole it out of their parents' cabinet, poured it in a mustard bottle.
Yep.
And some of the girls were so mad that he brought porn to the party that they took the mustard bottle of vodka and sprayed his leather coat down with it, soaked it in vodka so it reeked like vodka, and basically I think it ruined it. Yeah. And like I'm not from a rich area, like a leather coat was a huge deal in 7th grade.
Yeah.
And they soaked his coat in vodka because they were mad that he brought it.
Wow.
Sorry,
well, we used to do that too. And it was always so stupid because like it was always like the thing like, oh, you just steal your parents' vodka and then you put water in it to like make up for the and always like your parents would be like this, you could see like the change in the and like taste the difference. We'd always get caught, but it was like that was the thing. I know, it's so funny.
That was like, a great share by the
call-in. And I feel like that is more of a universal thing than anyone would ever admit. But like when you're that age, like you just don't know, and you are. It's more of like a curiosity thing.
Yeah.
Like like we would always play Truth or Dare with and
You're
it was
watching
like
adults do that on TV or the computer screen, so now it's okay for you to do it.
Yeah, and it was always like I dare to go pull up some porn, and it was so funny. But I love it. It's part of the human experience,
Porn?
like, yeah. Kind of. I mean, not that it's great for the human experience. I mean, obviously there's a lot of studies that it's negative and that it's harmful. But, when you are like you're conservative, especially like she mentioned conservative family, when you don't hear about it and
you got to find out on your own somehow.
I know, and you're just like, what is this thing that that, and you're having all these hormones. You're like, I don't know how to feel. And yeah, you start snooping around and you're like, holy shit. I have found the first porn that I ever watched I was on my brother's computer, Nick.
Oh, really?
And I remember I couldn't even, it was like, that was the big thing too, was like starting to find like YouTube videos online. And he had like a whole folder section and it was like of just blowjobs. I remember being like, what? I had never like heard of what a blowjob was or like never even knew what it was. And I was like, oh, girls do this? That's disgusting.
That's horrible. What a way to learn.
Like that was how I learned what a blowjob was.
That's so funny.
So, anyways, thank you so much for calling in.
Great call, great share.
That's the thing, is we always do these things that we're like so embarrassing, but chances are a lot of other people have done them. All right, James, are you ready?
Prepared
for the last secret. All right, here we go.
Hi, beautiful people, calling from Utah. And I have a sex story. I was hooking up with a friend that I've known my whole life. And obviously, here in Utah, there's some religious trauma that we have to break through out of when you kind of grow up and then you start, doing your own thing. And you kind of realize that from that, you get a lot of kinks. So, like, I'm not kink shaming, but it was very, very new for me. This man wanted me to kick his balls. Literally, it was hot as fuck if he was just kneeling there while I literally kicked the shit out of his balls. And I was okay with doing it for a little bit, It wasn't, I was like, okay, I'm into this. We still hooked up probably a couple more times after that, but I think I just started getting a little uncomfortable. I don't know about it, but if you like that, that's amazing. I love BDSM stuff, but
that it's like one of those voicemails you're like, okay, where is this gonna go? Like religious trauma, okay, conservative area, okay, kicked in the balls. Now, James,
I have 2 points on this.
Okay, please.
If you're,
I think
I want to hear your question first.
Yeah.
What was your question? Since I've got the balls, you want me to comment?
Yeah, but it's like, I guess like with the whole BDSM, like there is like a point of like pain to pleasure, but it's like, to what point, like, too, like, it doesn't that like make you, like, wouldn't it, like, make your wiener go down? Like, how could you like be still, with getting kicked in the balls?
Not really enjoying pain connected to sex at all, right?
Right.
I don't. It's not a shame. It's just I don't experience
that's
that
not your thing.
any way, shape, or form. And my thought is, with especially a direct kick to the balls, it's got to have something to do with him being shamed about what he's doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
So he's shameful about it. So he needs direct pain to that area to make it feel okay. It's the same thing in religion, right? What is some of the most strict sects, not sex, but sects of Christianity do? Is it was made popular by the
getting whipped in the back.
Yeah, it was made popular by the Dan Brown book.
Yeah,
Da Vinci Code.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
but this stuff, the Priory of Sion, they've been around forever, right?
Yep.
And they beat the living heck out of themselves, even for just being alive. Like it isn't, even if it's not because they had an unpure thought during the day, they just do that to atone themselves.
Yeah.
So this obviously has connections to that religious atonement.
Yeah.
It needs to be atoned in a very specific area.
Yep.
That was one point. Point two. Yes, if you're getting like it hurts.
Oh yeah,
I played so many sports in my life, and like playing baseball, I played first base. I've taken a few to the man jewels. That's just like
takes your breath away. I would
you almost throw up,
right?
Literally, I've kind of like half puked up stuff. I've gotten hit so hard.
And it's like, I don't. It's
playing rugby. Guys used to punch you there when you're in the scrum all the time. If they're kind of those scummy players, but it happens. Yeah, you're like you are on the verge of throwing up.
Yeah, especially like someone kicks you like.
But having said that, didn't we get a caller about somebody who liked to throw up after sex or during sex?
Yeah,
I mean that's the thing. The human nervous system can be wired in very strange ways.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not here to understand it nor shame it.
And never yucking up, if that's what you're into.
I'm sure it can happen, but I know I'm speaking for a lot of other guys out there. There is no way. Yes, for some specifically, I'm sure. But a lot of that's not gonna be a normal thing for dudes.
Right.
That's painful.
Yeah.
It's painful just hearing about it.
Yeah, because it is like, I mean, so much literal trauma to the area that it's like, how can you really like enjoy? Like, do you have sex afterwards, or is this before?
It's got to be the before thing. Like, the pain has to exist for him to feel.
And then he gets like that would just
gotta be.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that just sounds.
Call
painful.
Back in and say whether it's before or after. Maybe.
Yeah, tell us.
We need more details
after, because it's like that would be hard. I feel like then to be able to do anything after you just got kicked in the
during,
balls
like
numerous
he gets
times.
hard, kicked me in the balls for a while, right? I don't know.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But we love everyone that, has their own special kinks, whatever you're into.
I think today was a good example of having random voice.
And I have, because I got a lot of good, either like we've gotten some great hookup stories, we've gotten some great drug stories. So it's like, 3 drug stories in a row. Like, would that be, a lot? I don't know. I kind of like the mixing it up. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. If you guys, but let us know. Tell us. Comment below. Also, make sure speaking of commenting below, make sure you are subscribed on YouTube if you could. That would just be so lovely. And also make sure you're following if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That does a heck of a lot for us, more than you would think. But if you want to call in with a secret, you too can call in to
SpeakPipe.
That's speakpipe.com/weird-and-proud-pod. Obviously, it's free. Obviously, it's anonymous. Can leave up to 1 minute and 30 seconds. But yeah, if you got a weird drug story, you got a weird kink, you got hookup stories, anything weird. Obviously, it's a broad topic. We've gotten all sorts of things. So
have you ever pulled a good prank on somebody? I like some good old-fashioned prank stories.
Prank? Okay.
Like we're coming up on April here, so like, did you do an April Fool's joke, or is there a prank that you pulled on somebody? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Or
I
a
like
good
it. We haven't
joke
thrown
you
that
pulled
out
on
before.
a friend. I just thinking of more
Something
weird
new.
ideas.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah, so call us in. You can also make sure you're following. You can always DM us. Again, I haven't gotten any really great DMs that have been like worthwhile, but if you have a really good story, feel free to DM Weird and Proud Pod on Instagram. Also, make sure you're following along. We've been trying to put out some more reels, put out some more content for you guys. So make sure you're following there. And anything else, James, you want to tell the people?
No, just that I adore them. Thank you for listening.
We love you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening, for supporting, and being here. We love doing this, and I'm so glad that you guys love listening and are here with us. So we love you. Send us in some more weird secrets. Have an amazing week, and we'll see you next time. Love you, weirdos.
Bye, weirdos.
Bye.